Eddie Howe has revealed 2 key players who will not feature again this season, as well as a few players that he hopes will feature again this season. Bruno is going nowhere this season. We hope, and I'll tell you why in this video. Anthony Gordon has done a fantastic interview over on the Overlap, so we'll talk a little bit about what he said in that, and reports that the FA are set to bring in another new rule set to negatively impact Newcastle United. Would you believe it? Yes, guys, welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. Yes, I still haven't finished decorating the wall from last Tuesday. Hopefully, in a few weeks to go, it will look a little bit prettier. As always, this is your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that big red button. Loads of Newcastle chat coming out, even on a week where we haven't played a game of football. But loads to get into today. Before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to the charity football match I am playing in on Thursday. That's right, 2 days' time over at the First Cloud Arena, the home of South Shields Football Club. It is Newcastle United content creators versus Sunderland, and it's all for mental health awareness. Mind Washington is the charity. All donations go directly to that charity, and, you know, if you want to pay £5 a ticket, it's only £5 to come and watch me try and stay on my feet for a full 90 minutes, then come along, should be a laugh. I'm doing it, I believe Adam P, Magpie Channel, there's a few guys in there, should be good fun. I'll be wearing black and white, and I'll be hopefully winning that game. So be sure to go and check it out, all the links in the description. The tickets, if you can come down there, £5, or even if you want to give a few quid towards a good cause, then be sure to do so. But yes, let's crack on. Eddie Howe did a press conference today because we have a game tomorrow. That's right, we're back in action after a weekend off. We take on Crystal Palace tomorrow night down at Selhurst Park. A Crystal Palace side, by the way, who won 4-1 at the weekend against West Ham. So I do not think it's going to be an easy one. We've got a double, haven't we? We've got Palace, then we've got Sheffield United this Saturday, which I will be at. I've got a good one planned for Sheffield. It's the last game that me and all the lads I sit with. Obviously, there's only 2 home games left. There's Sheffield United, there's Brighton. The season's coming to a close. We want that 6th spot. Anyway, there's only a few of us. It's the last home game we'll all be at, so I've got a bit of a party day planned. So hopefully I'll be celebrating after and not crying into my pints. But yeah, Palace, Sheffield United, 2 big games that could, you know, really put us in a good spot. And Eddie Howe spoke today in his press conference on players, injuries, and a few other things. He has said that Willock and Miley are not set to play again this season. Now, Willock, we know, has been a bit up and down this season with injuries, with troubles. We all know what he can do. When he came back into the side after some time out, he straight away showed how much pace and energy he can bring. I think, you know, you've got likes of Bruno and Miley who are so good at keeping the ball. You've got Anderson and Joe Linton who beat everybody up. You've got Longstaff who can do a bit of the nitty gritty. And a Willock is just so off the mark, so quick to get forward, and I think we miss him. People have been saying, you know, that there's rumours that Willock could leave this summer window, and because of what trouble he's had with injuries, might it be a time to potentially move him on? So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I would love to keep Willock as long as we can, but he's got to be playing games, and, you know, maybe you point back at, we've had injuries all over the shop, and it's something that Newcastle are reportedly looking into in terms of staff and everything else. But Lewis Miley is the other. Lewis Miley didn't get injured with Newcastle, although I haven't said that the amount of games he's played. And Eddie Howe's been very, very open on the fact that he didn't want to overplay him. He went away with England under-20s, under-21s, picked up a back injury, and he's not expected to play for the rest of this season either. But could there be some good news to go along with it? He also said that Almiron, Joe Linton, Nick Pope may all well be back sooner rather than thought. It would be great to see Joe Linton back in the side before the end of the season, and obviously Nick Pope's been out for a fair amount of time now. Dubravka, he's another player who's linked to leaving this summer. Dubravka's a funny one because you can have a great game and then make an error, but I guess that's goalkeeping down to a T sometimes. He was also asked about Minty. Yakuba Minter, the man, the 19-year-old lad that we've loaned out to Feyenoord, who in fact won a cup at the weekend. I mean, he did get himself sent off in that game, so that wasn't probably the greatest, but he was celebrating regardless. He had the trophy, and Eddie Howe basically was asked, what's the crack? Is he coming back? And Eddie Howe said, wait and see, and that he needs to continue doing the good stuff he's doing out there and not focus on Newcastle just yet. But back to the right wing, it's a position where, look, at the minute, Gordon, Isak, Barnes, I tell you what, for a front three, there's not many teams in the Premier League who do better than that. Technically speaking, Gordon and Barnes are both left, would prefer to play on the left. That's not to say they can't both play either side, but to have a Minty as an option over on that right, it wouldn't be too bad, but maybe we'll have to find out a little bit in the pre-season. Hopefully get some time with the squad. That's what we all want, for him to get a chance, see how he does, but I think possibly they may look to loan him out to maybe Spanish side, Italian side, French, just to give him another experience and maybe in a more difficult league. So we'll wait to hear on that one. Speaking of Anthony Gordon, he did an interview with Gary Neville on The Overlap. If you haven't seen it, go check it out after this video. It's really good. I think he's asked some tough questions. He's asked about his move from Everton to Newcastle. I think he was trying to be very careful with what he did say. I think he went very much along the lines of that regardless of the fact that Everton was his boyhood club, he wanted to progress, and to do that, it was to a Newcastle side with new owners who are looking to spend and looking to improve, and an Everton side who are struggling to beat relegation. So you can see why it was a tough choice. You can see why he made the choice. I mean, having said that, at the time he was getting dogs abuse from the Everton fans. He obviously didn't touch into that too much for obvious reasons, but it's nice to hear that he's feeling loved where he is now, and he's spoken about his ambitions of winning a trophy. One of the big questions was, and this was plastered on social media following, what would you rather do, score a goal for England or win the winning goal for Newcastle to win a trophy? I think obviously he would love to score for him, and he did say, had it have been a winning goal to win the Euros, maybe it would have been a little bit different, but to score a goal, win a trophy for Newcastle, he was like, when we win. Very determined, very young lad, but also very down to earth, very honest, and it's worth a watch. So go check it out if you haven't already. Someone else who's been in the headlines is Bruno. Obviously, Bruno's always in the headlines, and normally it's about him leaving, but thankfully, he could well be here to stay this summer, as it's reported that Bruno has just bought a new house, a new £4 million house, and obviously, if you were planning on leaving this summer, you probably wouldn't go and spend £4 million on the house. Having said that, in the world of football, things can change very, very quickly. Bruno could buy a whole street of houses, and it's not to say that if Real Madrid came in with a £150 million offer that he isn't guaranteed to not guaranteed to turn it down. So as much as I think it is true, he's got his kid here, he's got another one on the way or has just had one. They seem very, very happy. The fact that Joe Linton signed his new deal as well, to have your best mate confirmed to be alongside you for the next 2 or 3 years, is going to be a big one as well. I think if had Joe Linton not signed, that's the other thing. Talk about Joe Linton being worth what he's paid and give him the money. I mean, Bruno's probably hanging on his shoulder going, has Joe Linton signed a new deal yet? Because, he's my best pal here, and if he's not here... But there you go. As I say, it's said that Bruno's bought his new house. Hopefully he is very much here to stay. Links with Isak and everything else. Isak himself is saying very much that he wants to stay. I'm not too concerned right now. I don't want to. I don't want to jinx it because I'm normally quite good at that. But I would honestly say that for right now, where we are, looking at what our team could be on paper next season, even before signing players, just simply having everyone back from injury, could be a real good side to start the season, and hopefully a few pickups in the summer will take us to exactly where we want to be. And as I say, with Minty on his way back and maybe Dan Ashworth out the door, and a new director of football in time for the summer window, reports are that Newcastle are edging ever closer to bringing in that new director of football. Having said that, Luke Edwards has trashed that and said Newcastle aren't close to agreeing a compensation deal for Ashworth. Good old Jimmy Radcliffe was crying again on the what was he doing? the London Marathon. He was doing the London Marathon and pulled over for a second just to moan about the fact that he's got 2 or 3 people currently sat on gardening leave that he can't bring in the club, and saying how it's not as easy as it looks. Well, pay us the 20 million, Jim, and then you can take them where you want. I think it was the Mail were reporting Newcastle are close to agreeing an upfront £6 million fee with a further £6 million over 2 years. But then, as I say, Luke Edwards has trashed that and said that they're nowhere near. And then Jim, as I say, Radcliffe crying at the weekend, pulling over from his London Marathon run to, it is what it is. He seems to be fitting in there well already. But aside from that, I think Newcastle are continuing with interviews. I think, again, reports are that potential directors of football are being interviewed by Staveley and the current club staff, but it hasn't quite made its way up to the upstairs of the Yes Sir and the PIF just yet. So we'll wait in here, but hopefully it'll be good to kind of have that nailed before the summer. Not just because I want the 20 million to spend in the summer. Sell Ashworth for 20 million times by 5 over 5 years. We've got 100 million to blow this summer. And that's before even having to sell a Bruno or an Isak. So that would be pretty handy. But in terms of PIF, money, sponsors, are the FA bringing in another rule to stop Newcastle in their tracks? Well, it's fair to say that when we tried to get sponsorships, we were stopped because you couldn't have sponsors through businesses that your owners own, despite the fact that had never been before. We've had Sports Direct on the stadium for the last 15 years. There was then rules on whether owners could own other clubs, or in the multi-club thing that was said no, but apparently they're changing their mind on that now. You couldn't loan or buy players from other clubs that your owners also owned if it meant the value wasn't high enough. Well, they're going to stop friendlies now. That's right. According to the Times, lucrative friendlies are set to be stopped by clubs. Now, I'll be honest, there's 2 sides to this, so bear with me and you can give your thoughts down below. The initial thought to me was, really? Football, general, just is so all over the shop. And I just feel there's so many dissatisfied people with the product the Premier League are giving out, to the fact it's too expensive. It's on 7 different outlets that you have to pay for all of them. You've got FFP and the number of different hurdles clubs are having to jump through to bring in sponsors and bring in money. Newcastle have billionaire owners, but they have to still charge their fans an extra £5 a ticket because we need to increase the gate fees to spend money. Like, they're billionaires, and Adam and Eve are having to pay an extra £5 or £10 or whatever every game. The pints are I think there's just so much going on right now, and then you've got VAR. Like, nobody's coming out of these games and being like, I think the big thing to say would be at a weekend or even on the Monday morning when you put on the radio or you're chatting to your pals, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the fantastic game and all the goals, or are you talking about the issues with VAR and the problems with being able to spend money and the like, you know what I mean? And then to look at the news today and see that the FA are now considering putting a ban on lucrative friendlies. It's just like, really? To be fair, and this is when I start the crossover now with my devil's advocate side of things, and as I say, you can tell me down below, because when I first saw it, I'm thinking Cellar Cup. Newcastle obviously did the Cellar Cup last season with mixed reviews. I think they probably charged too much for it. I think the teams on display weren't the most exciting, and it did feel a little bit cash grabby because it wasn't necessarily again, do the needs to charge for it if Newcastle could just spend whatever they wanted. But it was obvious that they were trying to create some revenue somewhere. In my head, I'm thinking this season, I'm hoping we'll do it again. Hopefully they'll do it with better teams. Let's get in blooming Juventus, Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain, and then all of a sudden, 60 quid across 2 weeks. You're not just going for Newcastle then. You'll actually go early and you'll actually go and watch the Real Madrid PSG. Then you'll watch the Newcastle Juventus after. Like, it's actually worth it's worth going. It's worth spending your whole day there. It's worth buying all the food and what it's worth, because there's some good teams on show. Last time round, I think it was like Villarreal and Fiorentina. I don't think quite cut it. So it'll be really interesting to see what does happen this year. And obviously, because of the big teams involved, it creates bigger sponsors. It might even create TV viewership for it as well. All those things, and then I'm thinking, they're trying to take that away. Right, so that's another thing when Newcastle are trying to build, and they're rumour. If you actually read into the article a little bit further, what it's actually going into depth, what it's actually trying to push a little bit further, rather than just friendlies generally, it's going more into post-season friendlies as opposed to pre-season friendlies. Now, if I'm totally honest, it does feel like a bit of a stab, and the article itself even mentions the fact that Newcastle are going to Australia at the end of this season. Now, whether it's post-season, pre-season, mid-season, regardless, doing these friendlies really is partly for training and activity for the players, but it is also about money. And what they've tried to hone in on there in this particular interview is the fact that Newcastle going to Australia for 2 games after an entire season, really for profile and money reasons. Like, that's where I'm starting to switch over the fence now, because I will actually say that to take our team all the way to Australia after all of the issues we've had with injuries and everything else, to just play 1 game and then come home again, seems pretty mad, to be honest. But the thing that hit me was, nobody's ever moaned about this before. You know? Why is it that, unless I've got me tinfoil hat on, to be honest, it should be down to the club. It should be down to the club. It should be down to the players. I'll be honest, should Newcastle be saying, look, sponsorships, we've had an absolutely mental season. Everybody's injured. We're not coming to us. Or do you think that it's fine that we do go out there and maybe, to be honest, maybe the players are buzzing for it? You know, going out to Oz and celebrating hopefully a European spot and a bit of fun out there. So, you know, there's different ways to see it. But I did see that and think, yeah, here we'll go again. You know, as if we've not got bigger fish to fry, like the VAR issue or everything else. We're going to start looking at whether we should ban the friendlies. So you let me know your thoughts on that one down below. Let me know your thoughts on bringing Minty back, Bruno this summer, and of course the games this week. Palace and Sheffield United, 6 points on the board. I hope so. And if you do get a chance, take a look down in the comments of this video as well. Top pinned comment, tickets for the charity game this Thursday, and the Just Giving page if you fancied helping out with mental matters. As I say, Washington Mind is the charity for that one. And fingers crossed, I'll have a video out later this week, maybe Friday morning. So subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see some highlights of me hopefully winning this weekend with a couple of the other Newcastle YouTube guys. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Comments down below. And I'll catch you later.